One.
It even tells me that. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the July meeting of the Committee of Adjustment. Tamara and Mark, I think if you both, let me see who's our first. Oh, Mark is on our first application, but Tamara, could you mute your camera until the one you're interested in comes up? I mean, you'll still be able to see and hear everything, but it makes my screen a little easier to watch.
I turned it off for you, Tamara.
Yeah, okay, thanks. So where are we at? We're at in the agenda, the roll call, everybody's here. So I'll call the meeting to order. Is there any disclosure of pecuniary interest? Seeing none. That's fine. The minutes of our last meeting were pre-circulated, or were they? Donna?
No, they were not prepared.
Okay, so we'll deal with them at our next meeting. So that was easy. We're quickly to the first application for Nancy Maxim authors. Nancy Maxim and authors Bruce. Okay. Go ahead, Donna.
Application 32-21, Nancy Maxim Arthur's Bruce, location of property 12905 Dillon Drive. The purpose of the application is to request relief from subsection 6.1.5 of zoning bylaw 1746, which establishes a maximum total lot coverage of 30%. The applicant is proposing to construct a 17.8 square meter, 192 square foot open roofed addition above an existing deck, resulting in total lot coverage of 36.5% in accordance with the attached sketch. The subject property is designated residential in the Tecumseh official plan and zoned residential R1-6 in the Tecumseh zoning bylaw. The following correspondence was received. No comments from engineering, no comments from the building department, no issues with respect to access during flooding events from fire service. And Essex Region Conservation Authority has no concerns with respect to the application, but a Section 28 permit is required.
Mr. Chair, you're muted.
I give up. I'm I figure out how to turn it on. There we go. So welcome, Nancy. Thanks, Nancy. Thank you for turning your camera on.
No worries.
Forgot to tell you that to begin with. But you're there. Thank you. Welcome to the meeting. After the reading that Donna just did, I usually ask the proponent if they have anything else they'd like to tell the committee that maybe we should know about.
I mean, I can tell you that I've spoken with neighbors on both the east and the west side of our residents, and certainly they haven't expressed any concerns whatsoever. And the individual actually on the east side of the residence would have this most significant impact, and doesn't have any concerns at all. Do whatever you want, Rob. So that's the only comment I'm going to make. I mean, we have spoken with other neighbors across the street, and we're friends with all of them. So they're just happy that we're doing a renovation, I guess.
That's good. Nothing like good neighbors.
That's all.
Yes, we're fortunate.
So at this point, then, the committee have any questions? Just not going to be that quick, is it? Lori?
Good evening. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Really the comment I was going to make is that I don't see that this is an actual addition to the existing use, but rather just covering an existing space. So that's something that I did see as not so much of an impact, but rather the use being the porch is already there, or that patio space is already there. So that was something that I did make note of, that the amenity space would still be there. In other words, that lot coverage is the purpose of that lot coverage, and the intent of that maximum lot coverage is really to kind of maintain amenity space on the property. This particular proposal is still maintaining that amenity space, which is wonderful. But really just comments. I'm not going to take away from others if anyone has any questions, but I would be prepared to make a motion tonight.
Okay, anybody else want to have a shot at this? Seeing nobody, go ahead and make the motion then, Lori.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yep, very straightforward. For purposes of a minor variance, the application, in my opinion, does meet the 4 tests. And as such, I do move to approve the application.
Supported by Daniel. Any comment, question from anybody? Okay, on the motion, all in favor? Opposed, carried, unanimous. Easy as pie.
That's great.
That's wonderful. Thank you so much.
We can get back to the lake now.
We appreciate
go.
it.
Thanks.
Thanks for letting us in on this.
No
We
problem.
appreciate that. Thank you.
Take care. And we're all set to leave.
Yep, goodbye.
Thanks.
Bye for now.
So the next application is for 320 Cedar Court, and there's quite a few that are attending on this one. So they could all turn on their cameras if they wanted to, so we can see who's here. And Donna, if you want to go ahead.
Application 33-21, Mark Godwin, 320 Cedar Court. The purpose of the application is to request relief from subsection 5.19.1 DI of zoning bylaw 2065, which establishes that accessory buildings in residential zones shall not exceed 10% of the total lot area, or 90 square meters, 969 square feet in area, whichever is the lesser, and no individual accessory building or structure shall exceed 70 square meters, 753 square feet in area. The applicant is requesting relief to construct a 122.6 square meter, 1,320 square foot accessory garage pool house having 33.4 square meters, 360 square feet, of which is an open roofed patio area in accordance with the attached sketch. The 2 existing accessory structures located along the northern side yard will be removed. The subject property is designated residential in the Tecumseh official plan and zoned residential type 2 in the zoning bylaw 2065. Comments are as follows. Engineering, as part of the building permit process, the owner will be required to provide details on how runoff from the proposed building will be controlled to prevent it from flowing onto neighboring properties to the satisfaction of the chief building official. Comments from the building department, a satisfactory grading and drainage plan from a qualified person will be required before the issuance of a permit in accordance with the town's grading, filling, dumping, and topsoil removal bylaw. Fire services, no issue with respect to access during flooding events. Essex Region Conservation Authority has no concerns or no objection to the application, but a Section 28 permit from IRCA will be required. There was correspondence filed from Taratino on behalf of Connor Tino, and she will outline those to you in her address to the committee. And we also received correspondence that was forwarded to the committee from Mr. Paul St. Louis regarding the application as well.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Donna. Where did he go? He was on there. Mark, where did you go? Oh, there you are, right in the middle. I couldn't see you.
I'm here.
Yeah, at this point, if you have anything else you'd like the committee to know about before we start asking you questions?
Just regarding like the runoff and that, whatever needs to be done, I'll do. I'll work with the contractor to take care of that, to meet all the needs and requirements.
Okay. Committee, have questions? You look like a question coming, Tom. Go ahead.
Yeah. Good evening, through you, Mr. Chair, and to the applicant. I was at the property today, and it's quite evident that there is a lot of standing water around the property. And I know you've said that you're going to be able to, or you will facilitate, what's required during construction to take care of that. That area is quite low in there. I don't know if it's an infrastructure problem or something that you will be able to handle on your property that's going to be able to, I guess, satisfy the runoff generated by, such a large development. I guess for me, it is quite a large structure. There's trees in the area. There's hydro lines in the back. I wonder what have you done to really consider making the garage and the outbuilding fit within the bylaw? Like, what hardship is there that you've worked on to try and mitigate the impact?
We've already taken down a couple trees back there. I don't know if you noticed, there was a couple. I worked with my one neighbor, Jackie, who's online there. There was a dead tree, and then I had another one taken. I've already talking to the same gentleman that took those trees down about removing the other ones. So I already have a plan with him to take them down. I'm aware of the hydro lines and that, which he says when he comes time to do them, he's going to work with, he knows what has to be done as far as contacting the utilities companies to get that like they remove them for the 24-hour period or whatever he needs to get the trees down. So I'm aware of that. As far as the low water, I am in the lower, my land's a little lower than the neighbors backing onto my property. And I've had a rink back there pretty much most of the years I've had here, been here, which is like 12 years. So this is an opportunity for me to kind of level the back area where I have that rink, which will still be there when I have this building. So, but I am lower than most of the back lawn. That's why I get the puddle area. It's mostly in the back corner. That's the worst, not where the building's going, but it's in the back corner where there's still going to be vacant property there.
And so you talk about adding, a weight room and additional living space because of, you talk about the size of the existing home. And so this would add more living space, which, increases the size of the building. Has there been consideration to, additional floor on the house to provide living space as opposed to increasing the size of a secondary structure?
I have looked at that in the past, but what I really need here is a couple of things, and that's what this is accomplishing. I've got a 3-bedroom ranch, which is kind of small. There's no basement, so that's why I want to add the living space. I have a back patio that I've always wanted to, like, it's not covered, so I want something that in the summer, like this time of year, I've got somewhere I can be outside and enjoy the weather, but it's covered and lawn furniture or whatever is protected. Or if it's raining, I can still go out, be outside, barbecue. Right now, I don't have that. And it's with all the trees and everything I have, it's constantly just a mess back there. So this is gonna help clean that. That area I don't use anyway. It's always been just kind of wasted land. I don't even have grass in most of it behind the garage. So, but I also need storage. My existing garage, which is like a 2-car garage, I can't even put my cars in there because I've got it, it's for storage. And then I have a gym back there, which I use, and my son. So this gives me the opportunity to kind of move the gym in there, which adding to the house won't really give me the gym opportunity or storage for my lawn tractor, motorcycle, and that kind of thing. So I'm just trying to accomplish that, and then at the same time have a outdoor kind of combination living space, man's cave, if you want to call it. That's the purpose of this. And then eventually I'm looking at potentially putting a pool in, so then it'll serve as a pool house too, with the outdoor covered area.
And so I wasn't clear on which, if any, structures are going to be removed.
There's 2 sheds that are on the, I guess it would be the north side of the garage there. So I'm gonna remove those so that I can actually get in from the side, on the side of the existing garage, and then turn into the new structure. So yeah, right, yeah, exactly where you're circling there. There's 2 sheds. They're just portable plastic sheds that are gonna be moved.
And so the intent would be to park cars in the garage?
Well, no, to get my motorcycle, lawn tractor, I can get in from the back. The cars, once I clean out the existing garage, I'll be able to park my vehicles in there. My existing garage will be my, I guess you can say, service garage for my truck, cars, whatever. But the back one will be more for a gym, and then I have a motorcycle, lawn tractor I can park in there.
So there won't be, impact to the neighbors behind with headlights coming in with cars.
The odd time when I'm coming in with a motorcycle, but nothing major.
Mhm. Okay. All right, that's all I have for right now. Thank you.
Okay. Anybody else? Tony?
Through you, Mr. Chair, I guess my question would be for Chad. Are we aware of any easements that are registered in the back for those hydro lines? I do believe in that is one of the comments that Mr. Tino made on his letter to the town.
Through Mr. Chair, we're not aware of any. They're not registered on our municipal system. We have a municipal easement layer that identifies municipal easements, but it doesn't show an easement for the hydro back there. But I'm aware that has been brought up in the correspondence that was submitted by the neighboring property owner to the east.
Thank you.
Anybody else? I think I did read somewhere in your comments, Mark was talking about a bathroom back there.
Well, within the structure, I plan on having a washroom. Currently, I have only one full-time washroom in the house, so it's an opportunity to put another full bath in there as well.
Okay. All right, so it's kind of like a living space.
Well, like I said,
Be like an addition on the house almost.
yeah, essentially. Originally, I wanted to add on to the existing garage, but by doing that, I was told that I had to be, I think it was 25 feet, 24 feet from the back lot. So if I did that, it wouldn't really allow me to have much of an addition to the existing garage. So that's why I went with a separate structure to have a little more room.
Okay. Tom, did I see your hand up again?
Yes, through you, Mr. Chair, to the applicant. So on the, I guess, facilities in the garage, bathroom facilities, there is no intention for a secondary unit as a living space, meaning bedroom or sleeping quarter.
No, the plan is to have part of it as garage storage, part of it as a weight room, and then like a bar area, living room kind of thing to have a TV and like near the where the covered patio is on that side. So you can be out watching TV, be outside in this one.
And I guess just to talk about the hardship further, was there any consideration? I know you talked about an addition onto the house. I'm not sure what the limitation there was, but is there any consideration to, I don't know, creating a porch off of the house and reducing the size of the structure so that it wouldn't be such a visual impact to the neighbors?
Well, behind the house where my patio is, I do want to eventually cover it. And when I originally was looking at joining it to the existing garage, I was trying to incorporate how I could have a additional garage with coverage. But the roofs are all over the place. They're different angles and that. The one guy I talked to couldn't come up with a way of incorporating all the roofs without, I guess, tearing down a structure or tearing off roofs and redoing it all at probably a pretty large expense. But I do plan on trying to cover the back patio once this is done, but it's going to be something later on once this is up.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
I just want to say though, like I do have a large property, which I think most of you, if you're aware of it, and I think it says in the documentation that even with adding this structure, I still only have 16% of the building on the property, which is well under the required. I think the max is 40%.
Okay. With the committee's permission, I'm gonna let some of the other neighbors in to talk about this, if they have comments to make to us. So who was it gave us the note saying she wanted to talk? Ms. Tino?
That's correct.
Okay, are you on my screen someplace, I hope?
You have to ask the host to allow my video to work.
Okay. Did we find her yet? No? Who's,
Yes, I've asked her to start her video.
okay, good.
And I've done that and it won't work now. That's interesting. It keeps saying can't start the video. That's disappointing once I had so much trouble getting in. Oh, there I am. Very good. All right. My name is Taratino, and thank you for allowing me to speak. I'm speaking on behalf of my son, Connor Tino, who cannot appear this evening. He lives directly behind the applicant and is very much concerned about the application. His backyard is most impacted. You will see him, he's at 361 Arlington. And you will see that the structure is going to be right across his backyard as well as his neighbor to the north. The drawings that were sent out were difficult to read. We did not realize there were two sheds that would be removed. We thought that the existing garage and the breezeway were to be removed. So it makes his concern even greater when we find out it's just an additional garage. So a second garage onto the property. I have submitted remarks and here we go. Mr. Tino was concerned because the proposed structure is 36% more than the bylaw allows. That's not a minor adjustment. It's 36% more. And it's only 684 square feet, as much as I could tell from the drawing. It's so small, it was hard to calculate. You couldn't see the scale. But 684 square feet, smaller than the existing dwelling. It's like a new house. So what's happening is this additional garage or pool house, as the applicant is calling it, is the size of many of the houses in the area. And now he wants to build it, essentially a second house, 4 feet from the property line. We're suggesting that, especially since the applicant has just said that there will be electrical and water hookups, it is a secondary unit, and the new bylaws under the new official plan have not been written yet for a secondary unit. But we are suggesting that the applicant does have a nice large yard, and that if he wants to put an additional structure, he should put it back in the southeast southerly corner of the yard, because that's where it should be. Where, see that white thing in our screen? That's this rink. But he could put his structure directly looking at it, beneath it, like south of this in this picture. And it would not, you could put it along the line and still be within the 25 foot setback. As it stands, his proposal is 4 feet from the property line, and he's going to be removing the trees, which act as a natural buffer and which help all the properties with the water intake. And that's very concerning. So in the backyard of 361 Arlington and 353 Arlington and 371, they'll be looking at a wall with roof and with the overhanging wires. And I know that Mr. Jeffrey said there was no easement registered with the municipality, but logic dictates that the hydro company will have access to them and must have access to fix it. So now if you're going to put this secondary unit 4 feet from the wires and 2 feet with the eaves overhang, that is not safe at all. I'm looking at my notes here from Mr. Tino. I obtained from the planning department this afternoon the guidelines that will go into an eventual bylaw for the additional residential unit that the official plan allows. And it says it must be integrated into its surroundings with negligible visual impact. I suggest to you that a full wall across the backyard of 361 Arlington is not negligible. And it says it has to be compatible in design and scale with the built form on the lot and the surrounding residential neighborhood in terms of massing, height, and visual appearance. We've heard nothing about the height. We don't know what it's going to look like. And in terms of massing, the applicant is going to have all of his structures in one corner. Other requirements such as stormwater management, tree preservation, landscaping, and provision of amenity areas should be adequately addressed. And I know we've talked about the stormwater management, but the tree preservation and the landscaping are quite a concern. These are mature, large trees that have been there for decades. And to cut them down simply to put in a structure where the structure could more easily be fit in the other corner of the applicant's property does not make sense to me. And it doesn't make sense to Mr. Tino, for whom I am speaking. We talked about the water drainage, and we're very concerned about it when the trees that take up a lot of the water will be removed. Skipping ahead to point number 10 of my submission for Mr. Tino, we were concerned about the driveway being right extended to the property line. Now, a motorcycle coming in and out, and you're sitting in your backyard with hoping for quiet enjoyment of your property, that does not bode well. So I'm suggesting that perhaps that is more of a concern that the applicant realizes. Finally, if we're looking at sufficient landscaping, we're looking at fencing. Right now, there's like a 3 foot chain link fence. And certainly the applicant should be willing to put up a fence that's at least the maximum allowed of 6.2 feet and a solid white fence to match the fence that's on the southern portion of his property. Finally, we don't believe this proposal meets all the tests the Planning Act establishes for the committee to consider when arriving at a decision. It's supposed to protect and enhance the quality of life. Our plan says to protect and enhance the quality of life and quality of place in our town. And putting all the structures and these additional structures the size of a new home 4 feet from the property line does not do that. It will diminish 361 Arlington and 353 Arlington and 371 Arlington. This application is for a second garage on a home, but now we're hearing that it's going to be a man cave and a living space with a bathroom and things. It's not fair that it be 4 feet from the property line. And then the general intent and purpose of the official plan is not being maintained. And the same consent can be said, excuse me, about the zoning bylaw. Because 36% is not a minor variance. It simply isn't. So Mr. Tino of 361 Arlington definitively opposes this variation request. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Tamara. Someone else who wanted to talk to this, Jacqueline? You have to unmute
Yes, I
your
would
screen.
as well.
I get to remind you.
I'm sorry, I didn't, am I able to speak or is
Yes,
it? not my
yes,
turn?
please.
Okay,
I was just
So,
getting you about getting to tell you have to unmute yourself. Anyway,
are you able to hear me now?
yes, I can.
Okay, very well. So my name is Jacqueline Massener, and I am currently, I guess, east of Mark Goodwin's property. I'm at 353 Arlington, so right behind, no, right there, yes. So there's about 25 feet. So my property extends 60 feet across. So 25 feet of my property is to the east of Mark Goodwin's rear property. If somebody could point to that line that we're talking about, 25 feet. No, yeah, right in there where it's kind of hard to tell. I guess I can't move it. Am I able to move it? So
No.
this, I would just want to show you where the 25 feet of my property is. Is somebody able to point to that? Yes, right in there. Perfect. Thank you so much. So a couple of months ago, or maybe a month ago, I asked Mr. Goodwin if he would be so kind to remove a dead tree back there and offered to also pay him some money, which I gave him $500 towards that removal of a large dead oak tree. There was one on my property I had to remove, and that cost me approximately $2,000. And then I gave Mr. Goodwin $500 as well. I didn't realize he was doing all this. Sounds like he would have removed those trees anyway at his cost, but hey, he got $500 from his neighbor, so that's good. I guess I'm a good neighbor. Anyway, my concern is this: the two sheds that are being removed, that's going to be all driveway basically, and that driveway extends back 25 feet across the back of my property. Couple questions. What's the driveway going to be made of? Asphalt, cement, or stone? That property has been very ill maintained in that area. And if it's stone and all weeds, it could be very detrimental. But if it's also asphalt or cement, I have no idea where his water is going. The neighbor to the north of Mark also floods very badly in their backyard when we have a rainfall. Currently, I am okay. I'm probably a little higher than Mark, so I don't get a huge amount of rainfall that pools into my backyard. But with a 25-foot driveway and a 55-foot building, I cannot imagine how they will ever manage this water. My other concern is we currently have 2 big oak trees back there and 1 big maple tree, as Mrs. Tino has said. I understand that anybody can do what they'd like with the trees in their backyard to put this massive building and destroy these trees that are hundreds of years old is just a sin. I'm concerned about how close this is. I'm concerned about lights coming up into my driveway. Certainly Mark may not be using this as any more than a man cave, but what about the next buyer? Is he going to have like a auto mechanic workshop in his backyard that I'm smelling diesel fuel and listening to revving of motors. That only piece of green space in my backyard, that's my tranquility. I moved to St. Clair Beach to be around trees and nature. And I'm really quite disturbed about this application. The building is massive. That back corner totally affects my view, my ambiance of my home. The elevation that IRPA is going to require him to build up is going to cause the neighbor to the north a great deal of flooding, and it may cause myself and Mr. Tino flooding. You know, once said, they may say, we're going to control all this water, but then what happens when it fails? And you all know that that happens time and time again with new buildings and new structures. We can only put in so much cement and concrete, and then our earth can no longer absorb what we give it. The trees being gone, they would absorb a tremendous amount of water in that area. And unfortunately, that area is just swamp as it is. I'm really concerned about this application. You know, I'm not opposed to someone building and adding on to their home. I think it's progress, and I embrace that. I think there's a better spot for this structure to be built. When I added on to my home, and you can see it, it was a small 25 by 25 foot structure that gave us our extra living space, which was about 600 square feet. He's asking for double that. And it's a garage. He has an existing garage. This is like a workshop garage, man cave, pool room. What is it? Like, is it a noisemaker? Is it going to be disturbing all of us at night? Like, I'm really concerned about a lot of this. I want to know what the driveway is going to be made of. I'm very disappointed that the structure only has to be 4 feet from my fence, and it's like another house. My current home, my original home was 1,100 square feet, and we added on 600. So my home is about 1,700 square feet. And I've got a small shed in the back, and it's plenty. I mean, I don't understand why somebody needs a structure this large to pull trees, to block our view, to possibly cause noise damage and flooding. I am opposed to it. I'm not opposed to Mark moving the structure so possibly he's parallel behind his own home or adding on to his home. That I'm not opposed to. But where this is going with headlights and garages coming in his backyard, I mean, who puts a huge garage in their backyard? Like, it's going to, my whole half of my yard is going to be actually, it removes all the trees. It removes every tree that shades us. And I end up looking at cement or gravel and a chain link fence. It's not adequate. And I would agree, if this is somewhat approved by anyone, my fence should be replaced. I don't want to look at this eyesore. It would be horrible. I'm sorry, Mark. I don't like this.
Okay, Mark, can you help us with what you plan for the driveway?
The driveway will be the same as the existing. It's an aggregate driveway, which I had done last spring. I plan on just extending that, so it'll be the same type. It's a very attractive driveway. If anyone knows what aggregate is, it's not going to be gravel. It's not going to be just plain cement. As far as structures in the neighborhood, you can go to the adjacent corner north of my property in the court. That property has as larger structure than mine, higher than mine, and it's already existing. If you go basically 3 doors down to the left, which I don't know if you can bring it up on your photo there, he has a shop which he has antique hot rod cars. It's I think it's 308 driveway, that long driveway. There's a huge structure in the back there. So to say that, you know, no one else has this in their property, he has a large property, he has the opposite corner of me in the court, and he has this bigger structure than what I'm proposing. The reason it's not a high structure that I'm proposing, it's within the limits of 15 feet. Originally, like I said, I wanted to add to the existing garage and have a 2-story, but I was told by my designer that that wasn't possible. You had to keep it, I think 15 feet was the max height wise. So that's what it is. It's not high. It's not going to be like some structure looking down on the other back properties. I was told by, I think it's the gentleman I talked to at the township, about the 4 feet from the back. I can move it inboard more. He says it didn't have to be that close. I was told originally my designer, I think she thought, or she put it 10 feet behind my existing garage, but I can move it closer to that garage to give a little more room from the back fence instead of being 4 feet. That is an option. As far as, and to say my needs are different than yours. So to say, I don't know who needs a structure this big. I mean, I've given my reasons. I don't think that's necessarily relevant. My needs are different than Jacqueline's. My needs are different than other neighbors. What I have is what I have. I don't think it's illegal to have a motorcycle. Last I checked in Canada, it's not something I ride regular all the time. It's not something that I'm going to be driving in, making noise and flashing lights at the neighbor. But as far as I can tell, it is legal to have a motorcycle, just as it is to have a car, a hot rod that makes noise. I'm not a noisy neighbor. I don't disturb the neighborhood. Other neighbors, Connor's mother there, Tamara, your son has parties there. I don't
Just keep it to the issues here, please.
I know, but I'm just that they're worried about noise and everything else.
I know,
I
but
think it should be a concern. It's a garage. I mean, I just want to use it as a structure to be outside, extra storage. Like I said, I have a small, I have kids. I just need extra room living, like a living room out there. It's not going to be a kitchen bedroom type thing. To move it where they're proposing, then I lose most of my backyard because you're just putting it right in the middle of a backyard. Like I said, almost every winter I've had an ice rink. I want to keep the ice rink. I have a 4-year-old son that I want to be able to have an ice rink for. And if I put it there, then I lose the ability to do that. Plus, it's extending where me having to drive. If I want plumbing and electrical, I'm putting it way in the back corner, which is going to be more difficult to have that in the structure.
okay.
As far as fencing, I'll put up, if that's appeases the neighbors, I can get a vinyl fence. There's one of the back lots already have a part of their backyard. I can put up vinyl fencing for noise and light reduction, I guess you could say. I have no problem doing that. That's doable.
Is there someone else who wants to speak? Tim, you've been patiently watching. Is Paul St. Louis or Pete Techo, you're registered to talk about this if you want to.
I'm Tina St. Louis. I'm the one right north of Mark.
Okay, yep.
Our concern is just the flooding. Like Jacqueline said, Mark's property and my property, we are low lying and ours floods. Last Friday we flooded. We actually had flooding in the basement. So that is our concern is the flooding. And what will be done to mitigate that.
Okay.
The one thing I can say on that, as far that area actually doesn't get a lot of water. It got some over the last the storms we've had. Where it floods or pools up in mine is actually more where they're proposing I put the garage. That's the lowest part of my property. That south corner there. That's where, and there's actually a berm right where your cursor is. that runs from 324 to 379. There's actually a berm that it runs along that south, I guess, property line. Yeah, kind of in there about, 10, 15 feet in, there's a berm. And then where that rink is actually where, especially the south corner, is where I get my water pools up the most. That's the lowest part of my property. Behind my garage, I don't get a lot of water that usually puddles up in the storm. I had some because it was so much water there the past week or two. I had some, but most of my water pools up more where that white, where basically that's my rink. That's the lowest part. And like I said, I don't know how to give you a technical answer, how to take care of the water right now. But I know in the requirement, they said to get an expert, and that's what I would do with either my contractor or whoever else I need to get involved with to have a runoff. And like some people have told me that I've talked to about it, you put like a catch basin or something in that corner, and it'd probably have to go more in that south part of the property.
Well, yeah, I don't think we're gonna get into stormwater design
Yeah,
tonight.
I mean, I'll do what I need to be done.
Suffice it to say that the recommendation from administration anyway is that there be someone who's an expert in drainage will be required to design something and with the assurance that it's going to work. I mean, any drainage system can work for a little while. If there's 8 inches of rain falling, everybody's going to get wet. So the design depends on the kind of rain we get and the kind of area that you're covering it. So the issue that the committee has to look at is if we put up 1,200 square feet of roof that used to have grass there, where is the water going to go, and how is it going to stay there until it can get to where it's going to go? And that's the reason you get a drainage report and a grading plan for the lot. But we're not here to talk about exactly how that's going to be done. We only need to talk about, is there a way to mitigate that to make sure that it's done properly? And the thing that the committee has to consider is the 4 tests and whether that building lends itself to that use, a typical use for an accessory building. Let me see, who else is here? Mr. Drulard, are you here for this?
I'm here, but not for this one.
Oh, okay, sorry.
No problem. Thank you.
Nobody else here to speak to this? Okay, does the committee have any new questions? Seeing nobody. Oh, Laurie, okay. You moved around on my screen, so you know.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Okay, so question 2, administration, if we were to see the proposal as attached rather than detached, can you walk us through very high level to Mr. Jeffrey, what variances or what permissions we would be seeing if this was an attached structure?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. If it was an attached structure, it would have to meet the yard provisions for the main building in the lot, which is the dwelling, and that would mean a 25-foot rear yard. If I share the screen here, I can demonstrate that. So roughly to that point there, that's the minimum rear yard for the main dwelling. The balance of the zone provisions would be met. He would comply with lot coverage. There would be a side yard of 10 feet. So from the northerly lot line, you'd have to maintain 10 feet. So 25 feet from the easterly lot line, 10 feet from the northerly lot line. But lot coverage and minimum landscaped open space would be easily satisfied.
Thank you, Chad. A question to then. I mean, it gets your wheels turning, I think, through you, Mr. Chair, I get to the committee. It gets your wheels turning. So as an attached structure, there would be a reconfiguration, I believe, of your proposal to Mr. Goodwin, or I think I might be pronouncing it incorrectly, Godwin. So a reconfiguration of your proposal if it were to be considered attached. Something to consider depending on what the outcome of this meeting will be. I do hear the residents loud and clear, and hearing that the proposal as a detached structure is imposing on their livelihood and could be potentially impacting the use of their properties. So I do hear that. Some things to consider as well, and maybe, you know, the required yard. And so we do talk about and thank you, Mr. Jeffrey, for bringing up the required rear yard and the required side yard should the proposal be attached. The intent of a rear yard setback and the intent of that side yard setback is to mitigate any impacts to adjacent properties or to ensure that all sorts of reasons why. In this case, the proposal as is, not looking at those rear yard setbacks because it meets as a detached structure the required rear yard and the required side yard. So as a detached structure, the minor variance that we're looking at, we need as a committee to look at those 4 tests. Does the variance, the proposed variance for impact surrounding land uses, and does it meet the intent of the official plan? Is it minor in nature, et cetera? So some things to consider, but the proposal at hand in front of us, we really do need to consider just that kind of that lot coverage and what is being proposed. So really, for now, this is great. And I think I'll hand the baton back off to you, Mr. Chair. And if there's other questions that come up, I'll raise my hand. Thank you.
Anybody else have questions then? Or comments? Tony?
I do have one question. I guess my question would be for Mark. You had one point had stated that if you had built a second floor on the existing garage, it would be limited to 15 feet.
I was talking about if I did an attached structure and then going up with a second, like a higher structure with a second floor for storage or whatever. But I was told by my designer that that wasn't possible. Didn't meet the requirements.
For an attached structure.
Yeah, and yeah, adding to my existing garage.
Is that through you, Mr. Chair? I guess going to Chad, is that correct?
Again, through you, Mr. Chair, the maximum height for the R2 zone is 35 feet. So it would fall under 35 feet, certainly at 2 stories. The maximum height for an accessory structure is 15 feet. So perhaps the designer was referring to a detached structure when he indicated that it would exceed the maximum height.
So adding the second floor to the existing attached garage, say, for example, would be permitted.
It would meet the minimum, or sorry, it would meet the maximum height, yes, of 35 feet.
Okay. Given where that garage is, would it change the side yard?
Mr. Chair, the side yard would it'd be 10 feet.
Would still be 10? Okay.
Yeah.
Anybody else have a question? Seeing none.
I do have one other comment. I'm sorry if that's okay. My name's Jackie.
Yeah, Jackie, you
Am I allowed or no?
Ordinarily, I wouldn't allow it, but go ahead.
Okay, no, I'll shut my mic off. Don't worry.
All right. Anybody else? Anybody want to make a motion? Mr. Marantat.
Yes, through you, Mr. Chair. I've heard what the neighbors have said. I've heard what the applicant, is desiring. I think that, what he wants sounds like a great space. I just think that he needs to do more homework. I would encourage him to reevaluate additional living needs and perhaps splitting some of the addition to his existing home and maybe decreasing the size of his secondary unit. I would also like to see more dialogue with the neighbors. I just don't think that this time that I certainly can't support it. I don't think it meets the general intent of the bylaws. I don't think that it is minor in nature, and I don't think that that is appropriate use of the land at this time. So I will not support it, and I look to the applicant to revise his plans and come back to the committee in the future. You're muted, Mr. Chair.
Got me again. Does that mean that you would make a motion to deny the application?
Yes, I would make a motion to deny the application at this point.
Lori?
Second.
I think you seconded it. Yeah. Any other?
You are muted. You're muted again, Mr. Chair.
This is ridiculous. Any other comment from anybody? On the motion? No, on the motion. All in favor? All opposed? 3 abstentions? Let's try that again. All in favor? There, now I see. Opposed? Motion is carried. So the application is denied. Mark? You gave it a good try, I can tell you that. But I think you have some options that you can, may not be exactly what you wanted, but you have some options that have been suggested that might work there and give you what you need. Okay?
Yep.
Thank you very much. Donna?
Yes. Give me 1 second, Tom.
Did you take a pain pill, Donna?
Mr.
Yeah.
Chair, Donna, before you start, can we have people mute if you're not speaking, please?
Yeah, we have Mr. Joulard's mic is on, I think. You can turn your mic off until you're going to speak. Okay. You got it. Thanks, Lori.
Okay. File number 83421, Jamie Bacon, 1001 Lacoste Boulevard. The purpose of the application is to request relief from subsection 5.25.1 DI of zoning bylaw 1746, which establishes that accessory buildings in residential zones shall not exceed 10% of the total lot area or 90 square meters, 969 square feet in area, whichever is the lesser, and no individual accessory building or structure shall exceed 70 square meters, 753 square feet in area. The applicant is proposing to construct a 111.4 square meter, 1,200 square foot accessory garage as shown on the attached sketch. The existing accessory garage that is located on the property will be demolished. The subject property is designated residential in the Tecumseh official plan and zoned residential R2 in the zoning bylaw 1746. The following correspondence was received. So engineering's comments were, as part of the building permit process, the owner will be required to provide details of how runoff from the proposed building will be controlled to prevent it from flowing onto neighboring properties to the satisfaction of the chief building official. The building department's comments are as follows. A satisfactory grading and drainage plan from a qualified person will be required before the issuance of a permit in accordance with the town's grading, filling, dumping, and topsoil removal bylaw. No comments from fire services, and IRCA has no objection to the application.
Okay. Mr. Bacon. You get the routine, so it's your chance to tell the committee something they may need to know.
And I have a big yard. Well, Jamie Bacon, I live at 1001 Lacoste. My lot's 70 by 212. I want to build a garage in the back just for storage. I have 2 boats. I have 2 vehicles, riding lawnmower, etc. to store in there. 2007, I put a rear yard drain in with a catch basin, which contains all my own water, any runoff. I used to be very low in the area. So I proposed to put a 30 by 40 garage up, and I was going to move my catch basin from the southwest to the northwest of my property. In that area, put my catch basin right there where your cursor is, and dig my drain pipe and start a new, well, run my existing drain. If it is not clogged, I'll use the same thing. But if it is clogged, I'll reroute it. Not reroute it, but I'll dig it back in again myself. Other than that, I've talked to neighbors. Only concern was Tim Drulard wanted to know where my water was going to go. And I just explained to him, all my eaves troughs that are the 2 eaves troughs that will be on the structure will be in hard pipe, white PVC, and run right to my catch basin, which will then follow out to the road to the storm sewer on the north side of my house. Yeah, all the way there. I already have clean outs and everything. I had a permit in 2007.
Okay.
And if I have to do anything with it for the water, let me know. I can put in another drain.
Okay. Committee, have any comments or questions? Seeing none. Mr. Drulard, do you want to say something on this? Oh, you're muted. Sorry. You're doing my trick. You're muted. I think our controller has to turn you on. There we go.
There we go. You all set now?
Yep.
Thank you. My concern is more than the drainage, because right now I'm flooding so there's no end. I've got minimum 3 to 4 inches in my shed, which is located right like in the northwest, up straight up with the cursor. Right, yeah, you got it right. That's it right there. Looking at the wrong property, sorry. And I'm constantly getting 3 to 4 inches at every rainstorm. Last Saturday, our storm on July 16th was just as bad, if not worse. And again, this is like, he's going to be 4 feet. And again, this I'm looking at a massive wall along my property here. It looks like a pole barn as far as I'm concerned, with 10-foot walls, and again with the pitch of the roof, the structure looks like it's going to be 18 feet tall. This is basically impacting this is going to impact the resale value of my home. I want to, like, down the road, probably not too far, I'm looking at, we're looking at selling, and it's like after that, I have no issues with that. But right now, this is impacting me hugely here. Like I say, this is not a garage, this is a pole barn as far as I can see. And the flooding right now is horrendous here. Like I applied years ago to raise my backyard, and I was denied by the building inspector at the time, and I just left it. And this is what happens. I'm getting flooded from, I have no idea where this is coming from. It's the water stands, it's gone within, usually takes about 2 days for it to dissipate. And like I say, the structure 18 feet high this is totally impacting immensely. Being, and it's going to end up 4 feet away. His overhang basically 3 feet or 1 foot overhang 3 feet away. This is, like I say, there's going to be a massive wall back there, which sight lines are basically destroyed.
Okay. So just on the flooding point, Tim, do you have rear yard drainage in your yard?
I have pictures from this year, last year. They're all dated. I can go back as far back as you would like.
That's not what I asked. I asked, do you have drainage in your backyard?
It was put here. My house was built in 91. It was built in an existing neighborhood. And basically I had, at the time, I had the only rear yard. I'm draining everybody pretty well. And like, I'm draining, like I say, I'm draining myself. I'm draining the neighbor to the south, neighbor to the west, 2 neighbors to the west, actually, more one than the other. And then right now with Jamie's plug rear yard drainage, I'm draining him as well.
Well, okay.
I can't, even if I reapply again to raise my property. When I applied for this, I was denied. So I put my my cement pad for my outbuilding, my shed. So now even if they let me raise the property accordingly, 4 or 6 inches, whatever it is, now what do I do with this cement pad? This puts an expense on me that should have never. This is basically off key here, but it's why I was denied years ago, and then off the record here, was it a mistake to apply for a permit to raise my property? I should have, should we just done it and be done with it, and then I wouldn't probably not have this problem. But that's here.
Well, no, but your neighbors might have. That's likely why you were denied.
Well, that's
you raise your property, then your neighbors get the water. So.
I was just trying to bring my level up with everybody else's, and they are still low.
Okay. Someone want to ask questions about this? Nobody wants to ask questions about this? Well, this is a bad night. Go ahead, Larry.
Thanks, Mr. Chair. Can you see us? Because I saw Tom's hand up as well.
I can see you, but there's a lot of faces on the screen, so it's.
Okay, so Tom and I both had our hands up, just confirming that you can see us. The question I have is to the applicant, so to Mr. Bacon, about the proposal. If during your review of your needs, did you consider demolishing the existing accessory structure and building an attached garage to fulfill your needs, rather than detached at the back of your property, but rather utilizing kind of the existing footprint and considering an attached structure?
I have thought of that. My footings for my existing garage right now are built on clay. There's just blocks sitting on clay. My house is close to 60 years old, between 50 and 60 years old. I've looked at that, and if I went to attach a garage to my house and go back, then it will infringe Mr. Droulard's view of everything, because he has a pool right off the side or right off the back of his house, which I figured that he wouldn't want a garage wall right there. So that's why I figured I'd build it out back. It'd be a little bit easier. But attaching to the I didn't want to go beside the house where in my driveway to attach one there. I'd rather go behind because I have a tree which is at the back of the existing garage that I'd have to tear down. It's a big maple tree. If I go to the back of my yard, then I can keep that existing tree right at the northwest corner. It's a really big maple.
Okay. Okay, in terms of, thank you. Through you, Mr. Chair, one more question to the applicant.
Mhm.
Were you able, rather not were you able, a statement on the size of the proposed accessory structure? It's quite large at 1,200 square feet. I'm not sure if you were privy to the application before you. 1,200 square feet could be someone's dwelling. It's quite large. Understanding that you have, needs and that you want this accessory structure to serve a purpose. The maximum square footage at 700 something for an accessory structure, correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Jeffrey, I believe is around 750 square feet.
That's correct.
Okay, thank you. So that is what's permitted by right. Question to clarify, what is the size of your existing accessory structure? And could, depending on the outcome of this meeting, could you work within the limits of that 750 square foot maximum for your new structure?
My existing structure is 16 by 24 as we speak. And my new structure, yes, I know the square footage it is large. It takes up 8% of my property if this is going to be accepted. I have a 24-foot pontoon boat with a trailer, which equals 32 feet by 8 feet wide. I have a 20-foot boat by 8 feet wide. And I have 2 vehicles that I'd like to park in there. And I have a riding lawnmower, which right now I have my 20-foot boat in my garage, and I don't have much storage at all. I fit a few bikes and a riding lawnmower. So to decrease my spending on storing my pontoon boats, I would rather store them in my own garage where I can work on them throughout the winter.
Okay. Understanding all of that, I mean, it would be a dream for many to have a 1,200 square foot accessory structure to store more than one boat and vehicles. It sounds like it's a good problem to have, and a problem being that, you need the additional space. It's a tough one because of the nature of the resident and hearing, we don't want to take lightly any of these concerns. I don't want to say that property values is something that under the Planning Act is something that we look at, because we don't. We really do need to look at the 4 tests of a minor variance, and is this minor in nature? So I'm not going to utilize that as a reason for me to make my decision. But really kind of utilizing the existing footprint, that was something that I did wanted to ask you, and understanding that, and then also our ability to work within the limits of the existing requirements and what's permitted under the bylaw right now. I think I'm satisfied for now, Mr. Chair, and wondering if others have any questions as well.
Yeah, we'll get to Tom. Tim, can you mute your microphone? Because we're getting some feedback or something from your, there you go. Thank you. Tom. Mute.
Sorry about that, everyone. I said, I thought I saw some elevations, details of the proposed structure, but I may have been thinking about the other application. Can you elaborate on the height of the structure and maybe the slope? That's what I saw there.
The height of the structure is not going to be higher than 15 feet. The peak will be at, I think, 14'6".
So it is a 612 pitch, which, you know, adds to the height, makes it a little more dramatic.
I can knock it down. I can knock it down to 412. It's not, I'm not worried about, like, I picked 612 just as a common, I guess just a common pitch, but I can knock, if it's the height you're worried about, myself, you will not see the garage from the road unless you stop in my driveway or look straight down my driveway. It's not noticeable. Like, I can't see my normal garage in front as driving down the street, and this will be 175 feet from the road.
Mhm.
And all my grading will be sloped directly to my yard, especially down the driveway. Mr. Drewlard won't get any water whatsoever. I've been in construction for a long time, and I know what I'm doing with grading.
Yeah, I don't doubt any of that, and I, you know, the building as shown in the drawing is very impressive, and I certainly understand your desire to keep your boats in the garage as opposed to paying storage fees somewhere else. I think I just struggle with the fact that it is so large. And I'm not sure that you've really demonstrated the hardship to not work within the bylaw. As I say, I mean, I understand what you're trying to do. I think that you should rethink or perhaps discuss what would better suit the surrounding neighborhood.
Okay.
Okay, anybody else? Questions or comments? Will I do a poll and find out? Nobody else? Somebody want to make a motion then? They're letting two people do all the work. Come on. Let me see. Stakes are on. Lori?
Okay, thanks, Mr. Chair. This one is a tough one as well. I mean, we're faced with a sizable property that has the ability to have some lot coverage, you know, as an attached structure and not go kind of beyond the limits of what's required in the zoning bylaw. There are some considerations for impacts to the adjacent property. There's considerations as well for the kind of highest and best use for the property itself. So as for the proposal itself, and in keeping with the intent of the bylaw, I believe that the intent for lot coverage as accessory structures not to exceed 753 square feet is there for a reason. And that is, the proposal is not a desirable proposal for an accessory structure, and therefore does not meet all four tests of a minor variance. And for those reasons, I do move to deny the application as is.
A motion to deny it. And Mr. Marantet? Seconded? I take it, yes, no? Okay, thank you. On the question, all in favor? On the motion, all in favor? Opposed? Good. A little delay there, Chris. I didn't You still had your hand up, but your camera don't, so. Okay, motion is passed and the application is denied. Sorry, Jamie. Thank you. You got a lot, you got a big lot though. I think you can do something there that meets your needs.
Thanks, appreciate it.
All right. So that's it. We're done. There are no referrals. Is there any new business, Donna?
No, none that I'm aware of.
Okay. Motion to adjourn then. Daniel and Paul. He had his hand up like this. All in favor? Opposed? Okay, you can take us offline then.